Well, the UK government will consider removing Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor from the royal line of succession once the police investigation is over. And our Prime Minister, Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, has become the first Prime Minister to offer support to remove Andrew from the line of succession. Andrew, is this inevitable? What do you think of this?
Well, it is interesting. A YouGov poll, you didn't really need it, but one which was published just a few days ago on February the 20th, it found that 82% of British adults surveyed believed he should be removed from the line of succession. Only 6% believed he should remain, and the others just didn't really know. I mean, it isn't reform, it's survival, isn't it? The monarchy is fighting to keep its future intact. But just to quickly run through the line of succession, the way that it works, Andrew is currently number 8, but you get the Prince of Wales, William, born in 1982. He's the eldest son, as you know, of King Charles III. His son, then, Prince George of Wales, born in 2013. He then comes next in line, so he's number 2. Princess Charlotte of Wales, born in 2015. She's number 3. You then get Louis, number 4. And then you go to the Duke of Sussex, which is Harry. And then you go through his offspring, obviously Prince Archie, born in 2019. You get Princess Lilibet, born in 2021. And then at number 8, you get Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, born in 1960. His offspring then come after that. And the question would be, if you remove him, what's going to happen to Princess Beatrice and her children? She's got a daughter, Sienna, born in 2021, and also Athena, born in 2025, and also Eugenie. She's got a younger daughter as well. She's the younger daughter of Andrew, rather. They've got Master Augustus, who was born in 2021, and Master Ernest Brooksbank, born in 2023. So that's the knock-on effect before you get to Edward and the various others. But that's how it works. The other point to make is that it doesn't apply, succession doesn't apply to spouses. So people like Queen Camilla or Catherine, Princess of Wales, are not in line of succession. So people will be a bit shocked by that. But it's worth looking at that sort of side. It goes to the offspring and their offspring, and that's how it works. But certainly the Crown is about to rewrite its own bloodline, and Andrew is the name most likely to be erased.
You mentioned the King a little earlier. He's given approval to staff at Buckingham Palace to open up files and records to police investigating Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, despite fears that they may reveal a cover-up. And there are questions around a potential cover-up, Andrew, as well as reports that the King was warned back in 2019 that the royal family's name was being abused by Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's business associations, and those reports coming from the Mail on Sunday. So there are certainly questions around how much the King knew, as well as calls for Charles to abdicate and for William to take the throne. What's your assessment of that?
Well, it's a couple of points on that. Is that the King very wisely has turned around and said he wants to cooperate in every possible way. What was interesting when we had the report of Andrew's arrest, the police didn't mention the name. That they tend not to do that because, again, they don't want to prejudice the trial. All they said is that a man in his 60s had been arrested. It was actually King Charles who mentioned his brother, saying that he was deeply concerned about it. And what he has said, as you rightly point out, is that they should have access to all of this information. And one of the points that I've been making is that when people travel, they don't travel alone, the royal family. You normally have what are called close protection officers. And what they do, they operate in sustained close proximity to the protected person. They travel with them. They accompany them in public and private engagements. They often control the different environments. They do a bit of background research on who people are meeting. And their core function of these people is basically to make sure there's situational awareness and constant observation, as well as risk assessment. What they have, and this is going to come out, and I've been digging into this and talking to a number of people, the close protection officers have historically documented and reported behaviour by protective principals that could amount to misconduct or criminality. And what these files are called are the secret green files, because they are green. They're apparently written in handwriting as opposed to type up, so they couldn't get lost in terms of the records. But the concern is for these officers that if they knew things which they didn't disclose, that they may be liable for concealing crimes. So they're a bit concerned themselves. What was encouraging is having the King come round himself and say, look, we want to disclose everything. We want to cooperate. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. And we're happy for everybody to look at these files and give, if you like, some sort of protection from those who may have information.
Just finally on the King, King Charles is set to visit the US to celebrate America's 250th anniversary. This trip will take place over a few days, and it's a slimmed down visit that's set to take place in April. Andrew, what can you tell us? What's on the agenda? And I suppose no plans to go to Montecito?
Oh, what a shame. I do try to encourage that family reunion. It is, as you say, it's a slimmed down US visit in April 2026. It's in the lead up to America's 250th anniversary. The full milestone, obviously, on July the 4th, 2026. It's half the length of time. The 3 days will be half the length of time of the Queen's 1976 bicentennial tour, you might remember. And the reasons are basically, well, the King's health, obviously, but also stamina considerations. It also mirrors the slimmed down state visit by President Trump we had over here in Britain. If you remember, I went to the special power hour. I went down to Windsor for you.
You did.
To cheer on Trump. I'm happy to go to Washington to do that, but I can tell you. It's always a plan, anything for you, Gabriella. You know that, don't you? What I love is that I'll give you some of the information we know so far. More details will come out, but itinerary on day one, he's going to be in Washington. There's going to be a White House dinner. It's probably April the 28th. There's going to be no news conference, apparently, and the dinner will be in the state dining room because obviously the ballroom works, which we know Trump is in the process of doing. They're unlikely to be completed. The British will be able to nominate some of the guests and so on and so forth. So far, we've been told that day two will be in New York, and day three, well, it's not yet confirmed, but there are no plans, as you rightly say, to go to the West Coast to avoid any sort of headlines about Harry, and also the scandal about Andrew, because they're going to be asking about that. But the thing is, what Trump has said, he said, look, Charles is coming very soon, and there's going to be a separate visit for William, probably in the summer, as you say, to do with the World Cup co-hosting in June, July 2026. Charles was supposed to be the steady hand. Instead, he may go down as the king who let the monarchy burn, even if he plans these sort of high-stakes US trips amid the fallout. He's very, very aware of the weight of history on him, and he wants to do the right thing, which is why he's saying what he's doing in that sort of way.
And he'll no doubt still be under pressure as the fallout from the Epstein files continues. What does this scandal mean for the future of the royal family? I know we've spoken about this a bit before, but this is no doubt the biggest scandal that the royal family has ever faced. Will the modern monarchy have to reform to survive?
I tell you, I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it? Because this time last week, I was giving you the rundown of the top 13 scandals in history. And basically, talking from 90 years ago, the abdication in 1936 due to the love, an affair of the heart with Wallis Simpson. You might remember the king he abdicated on that sort of basis. No, this is the biggest scandal in history. It's the first time in just about 400 years that a senior member of the royal family has been arrested. There's only been minor criminal things. Princess Anne, rather, in 2002, she was convicted of an offence under the Dangerous Dogs Act because her dog Dottie bit somebody in Windsor Great Park. Very minor, and she got fined £500. Not minor for obviously the person bitten. And the other thing is that Prince Philip, the wonderful Prince Philip, he was told off for not wearing a seatbelt. All minor compared to, as I say, the tsunami of scandal that's happening. And talking about survival, though, as I say, trust comes in on foot but leaves on horseback. The way we need to do that is to turn around and say, look, there aren't cover-ups. There's no special treatment. The idea of never explain, never complain has to go out of the window. If they want to survive, they've got to reform fast. And William has been doing that. You remember that brilliant interview he did with Eugenie Levy? And I was talking to you about that when he went on, he arrived on his little, scooter. Yeah. And he talked about how he wants to revolutionise, make it more accessible, slim down the number of royals, get rid of this pomp and circumstance, and so on and so forth, and have accountability. That's what he's doing, and I think that's absolutely the right way to go. He's been distancing himself from his uncle Andrew for some time. He was the driving force that made sure he wasn't on the Christmas list, if you like, at Sandringham and various other things. So William is so conscious of the weight of history on his shoulders. And yes, it is an existential threat to the monarchy, which he is trying to address.
I want to ask you about Fergie because there are also revelations that Sarah Ferguson introduced her goddaughter to Jeffrey Epstein A year after his release from jail and told him over to you. These are emails that show that Fergie helped set up this meeting. Andrew, there are also questions around whether Fergie should also be called to testify in the US.
Well, I think, I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it? These new emails, and this comes again on the tsunami of releases about these 3 million documents. And I can tell you there's going to be more and more coming out, and those were redacted, and there are more documents which are being hidden or not released. We need to know why. But they expose Sarah Ferguson's jaw-dropping betrayal to introduce your own goddaughter to a person at that stage who was a convicted paedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, just a year after his release is beggaring belief. The text that she sent him is over to you to do what? I mean, extraordinary. So it is 22-year-old she was then, Poppy Cotterill, and she was handed basically straight into Epstein's orbit by the Duchess of York herself. What he is, Poppy Cotterill is the daughter of Fergie's former lady-in-waiting, is what I can tell you. And what happens, apparently, this is what the emails suggest, is Epstein considered employing her and making a $100,000 donation in her name to a health charity. What happened is it's very simple. She turned that down, Poppy did, and probably very, very wisely. But the harrowing email saying over to you, lots of love from Fergie. The meeting, the innocent side of it, she would say it was basically an art job, and undoubtedly Epstein was very well connected with that sort of world. But the reality is, it would have been horrendous. She was wise to point it down. What the emails also revealed, Gabriella, is that Ferguson herself, she visited Epstein days after the 2009 release with Beatrice and Eugenie. You know, and we get all of these affectionate emails post-conviction. I mean, it's absolutely horrendous. In terms of testifying, well, she doesn't need to, but just as Hillary Clinton turned around and urging anybody who might have information, now's the time to do it.
And what has Fergie been up to? Well, she's apparently checked herself into the world's most expensive wellness clinic. According to the Daily Mail, Fergie secretly took refuge in a renowned £13,000 a day clinic in Switzerland. Andrew, I'm not too sure she'll get much sympathy from the public over this.
Well, I did often, and the producers very kindly said, look, Andrew, you have to go along yourself just so you can report on this properly. So a 13,000, I'll be reporting next week directly from there. And then what it is, it's an extraordinary place. £13,000 a day in the Swiss Alps. The Daily Mail reported on this. They said that she stayed in this wellness retreat until the end of January. It's believed that Sarah herself checked herself in alone. It's a lakeside clinic. It offers several different month-long recovery programs, basically, obviously, for the ultra-wealthy clients. The individuals have access to 15 medical experts, as well as a chauffeur and private chef. I think for that price, I'd want the whole restaurant. But basically, it's the low profile over the last 6 months. It sparked the speculation about her whereabouts. The time she was spotted, September the 16th, we saw her in 2025. She attended the funeral of Catherine, Duchess of Kent, at Westminster Cathedral with Andrew. And you remember those uncomfortable images that William and Andrew, when they got him in close proximity. She was also pictured arriving at Clarence House in December the 12th, 2025, for the christening of her dear daughter Beatrice, baby Athena. And that was the last time she was seen in public. So yes, you're absolutely right. The Daily Mail talked about her being at this clinic. £13,000 is a lot of money, and Fergie has notoriously had money problems. So the question is, how on earth did she pay for it? And one suggestion was that she might have done sort of promotional services for the clinic in the past, and she's certainly spoken about that in the press and so on and so forth. So the possibility is, yes, she went to this Paracelsus, it's called. It's been described as a sanctuary where individuals can receive the highest standard of care free of judgment. Well, that's an accolade for them, isn't it?
Andrew Eborn, UK barrister, broadcaster and president of Octopus TV. So wonderful to speak with you. Thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure to join you. Look forward to next time.